I'm serious, honey. Your coffee's undrinkable.
Pretty harsh.
Well, so's your coffee.
Close your hand in mine. Green threads fall deeper inside. You move through my veins, you move through every part of me. Take you to places no one knows to find relief. Got through my side. No more time enough to fight. Drained out of every part of me. When I think if you would change your mind and lay, oh,
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the stream and the podcast. We have a very special guest with us tonight. We have the tattooed historian, or John Heckman. John, welcome to the show, man. I'm really happy to have you along finally.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
Not bad.
That's
Not bad.
what I
Thanks
like
for
to
having
hear.
me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. So what brings us to the stream today is pretty much a common goal here, I think, that John, you and I share when it comes to being on Twitch here and, being able to converse with all of our audiences. And I like to think that we're on the same team, or, the wings on the same bird, as I would say. You want to give me some background on what got you started in this and what kind of gave you the idea maybe Twitch might be a good platform, or just even streaming in general and talking to people this way?
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me on again. It really means a lot for me to get out to a new audience and expose my audience to what you're doing as well, because collaboration is key here.
Absolutely.
And, I've been doing social media stuff for years now, as far as being a historian on social media and trying to teach the historical narrative on social media platforms of all different shapes and sizes. And I started gaming years ago. I started getting back into it. Like, I was playing Xbox and stuff like that. And I realized that people were on this platform doing the same thing and people were watching it. And it was just, one of those things where it wasn't foremost in my mind just yet. And right at the beginning of the pandemic, I saw this huge uptick in people watching Twitch. And I even started watching it almost like watching TV. And I was just like, well, if I'm watching it and millions of other people are watching it, there's got to be something to this. And I realized also that people weren't just gaming on here anymore. They were, doing tutorials. They were, there are DJs who can't be in the clubs right now who are on here doing their stuff and doing entertainment. There are people drawing and doing artistic stuff. And I figured, why don't we have, more history on here, and not only historical gaming, but have history-based educational interviews and stuff like that on here, or just chatting amongst ourselves. And that's where it basically grew out of. And I was kind of late to the game. You've been on here for a while.
Yeah, about
I'm
2
in
years now. Yeah, two and a half years.
Yeah, and I just started really hardcore, I'd say, in the summer or end of summer last year. So yeah, I figured it was time for me to gravitate over here. And
There's a
see what-
strange echo on my end. Let's see what that might be from. I'm trying to see maybe my phone was the reason that did that, but it doesn't seem to be it.
Oh, okay.
Try talking real quick.
How about now?
Yeah, no, I don't hear anything. That's weird. There's an echo. Maybe that'll do away with it. And it also, I don't know. You guys let me know if it's still there. I think my mic's all the way turned down, and then on the last, it's on the.
Huh. Yeah, I don't hear an echo on my end. You're
I don't hear
fine.
either. It's me. Yeah, John's audio is fine. Yeah, yours is good. I guess it's mine. And mine's still doing it too?
Stream will let you know because you're fine on my end.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I didn't. It started to echo a minute in. I don't have anything else playing to where that sound coming from it. Oh well. I mean, I hope it's not. Is it bad? Like, is it horrible? Can we go on with it? Or is it going to be one that I have to fix really quick? I'm not used to having that experience. Two mics. Hold on. Let's see if this is it. Do I have two mics up? How about now? Do you guys hear anything now? I think I figured out. He said, please stop. This is also something we can talk about Twitch, because this happens often.
It does.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something. I got it. All right, sweet. Cool.
Very good.
This is why you guys come in handy, and I absolutely appreciate having these people as viewers.
I want to chat over here, making sure. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, oh man, you guys are lifesavers. So thank you so much for being able to catch that. I would have never known. I would have kept rambling on with John, and we would have just been like echoing all over the place.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone in the chat, you got to let us know when there are issues like that, so we don't annoy you.
Oh man, I'm so glad I can sort of edit that later for podcast. Even though I kind of just want to leave it in so I can hear it and hear how the reaction was. It's part of the show. That's the fun part. I don't normally go back and edit because I think capturing that is just whatever happens in the show. That's obviously within reason. Nothing bad's gonna happen on the show, but I think it should be put on the podcast too. I don't think editing all that out makes it. It's good. Most people like it for professional quality, but I think the personal aspect of just leaving a raw, here was our podcast, here was our show, and you can listen to it commuting or doing whatever.
Yeah, that's why I started recording the podcast in a bar.
Man.
I wanted the clinking glasses, but I was upstairs and it was downstairs, but you can still hear it, and you can still hear the activity, and I always liked that. I didn't like a sterile environment.
Yeah, I understand that. And I can't wait for that type of opening again, whenever that might be, just to be able to go back and have an experience like that. It feels so foreign now.
Doesn't it?
I had concert tickets in a little raffle today at work, right? I was like, concert tickets. Like my mind is not even being able to wrap around that I have concert tickets in my hand. And it's granted 2022, but I'm like, what's a concert? Like, what? It's been so long. So being able to have something even just like that, but yeah, Gary Owen or going back to somewhere in Gettysburg, like, oh man.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait, man. But I'm conservative on that end as far as the health issue is concerned, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking at 2022 now until everything's back up and running.
Honestly, you're not bad for that. That's smart.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure.
Yeah,
keep everybody safe.
Absolutely. I mean, vaccines, they work, and it's gonna take a while, I think, for what do they call it, herd
immunity.
Yeah, herd immunity. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just unfortunately happen overnight. It'd be awesome if it did, but. Yeah, precautions. Right. Now, I will still go to battlefields with like friends of mine, and out that I'm spaced and I can wear masks, and when we're 6 feet apart, and you're outside, that's okay. I think being crammed in these, I get enough of that going to work every day, man.
Yeah, we've done battlefield stuff with friends, since the pandemic started, and it's just been one of those things where everyone wears their masks and you walk 5 or 6 miles together. But, everyone's safe. So, yeah, there are ways around it in that way, as long as everyone stays safe.
And that brings up a good question now that we talk about history, battlefields, and friends, and the pandemic. what does the pandemic and history look like for you when it comes to the battlefields you were able to visit at one point? Are you being able to frequently visit these as much? Are you noticing any limited access, which very much so. But I mean, like, what personally are you really pulling from this when it comes to the history field, if you will? Like, what's changed?
Well, not only in-person events, but just facilities in general have started to either close until this is resolved, or they have slowed their traffic flow, or because of social distancing and stuff like that. Time tickets and all that is a big thing now. But it's great to also see museums never have been cleaner than they are now. I mean, the cleaning crews are out doing the hard work and for a thankless job, and I often think about them. But when you can go into open air museums and battlefields and stuff, that really hasn't changed that much, right? Because our way of social distancing on a battlefield is completely different than in an exhibit hall. So I've seen a lot of change as far as the museum field in the physical sense. But I haven't seen that so much in the open air way. And I'm seeing a lot more museums do online learning now more than ever. And that's what I've been waiting for all this time.
I agree. Now I have a, with that, something that's been going on with the pandemic, and actually just got my first real big email about it this morning. But have you seen the Gettysburg animated map, the real in-depth one that's on, you can find it on Google. It's not something necessarily that's out there. I guess it's not really big yet, and it's still kind of in development. In fact, the gentleman that runs it's like, I believe he said he was 70 years old, and I was like, whoa, like he knows his way around a computer for sure. More than I do, I mean, by a long shot. But he says that he wants help with creating and narrating a 3-day Gettysburg battle app animation. He's got most of it already animated, but he's just picking and putting together different names and regiments and where they would go, and who would be here and whatnot, and so on and so forth. But he's asked young guys like us to take it over, give him just give him information. So I'm just now that I'm corresponding emails, that's something that I've been able to start doing during the pandemic too, is like looking for people who need help that I can access with what I can access here online, and what I can access just from my library itself that somebody else might not have. I thought that was a good way to kind of outreach, because I've been really looking forward to going to the Virginia Historical Society and getting to actually have the diary that my ancestor carried with him during the war in my hands and transcribing that to start working on it. Still haven't. They haven't even opened up for anything like that. And I'm like, man, they don't copy full manuscripts. I'm like, it's 116 pages, so I know they're not going to sit there and flip through. That's got to be something that's on me. It's my liability. But it's so hampering, because it's frustrating. I have this great project, but at the same time, I've been able to amass a decent amount of research material, and then the COVID hits, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Now a lot of that research that I was set to go get is just, per reopening, and that's frustrating. You hit a snag like that, and it gets almost unsettling. It unnerving, and you lose a little bit of motivation. But at the same time, there are things that make that motivation come back, so it's always temporary. For me, it seems anyways. Like, I'll lose it for a little bit, and then I'll go walk the bloody angle for 5 minutes, and the 5th minute I'm out there, I'm like, what am I doing? I need to go back and finish that. But you get, when you live in that area and have that access to it, helps to really kickstart that.
Right, and it also underscores the importance of digitization projects. That way you can grab it wherever you are and go. I'm seeing some great GIS projects that have been coming out that I've been passing along on my page.
I think it is a GIS project too, if I'm not mistaken. I'll send it to you when this is over and get you all linked up with it so you can check it out.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. And it's also an insurance issue, right? Where
it is.
If you have a massive fire, you got to have a digital backup and stuff like that. I think we're going to see a change in how the field operates on day-to-day ops because of this event. I think it's one good thing that will come out of this is that people who kind of were hesitant to even live stream are now ready to jump on board. And I've had several historians who refused to come on a live stream with me for a couple years, and now they email me and ask, can I come on a live stream with you? So I'm starting to see that mentality change.
And I see that too, and I'm really glad to see that. There's a few battlefields I think that haven't had that luxury, and that haven't had that wanting to push and make that happen. But at the same time, I see quite a few more, like Gettysburg. I know there's a lot of battle apps that have been put into play. I mean, hell, Chancellorsville has one too, if I'm not mistaken. Fredericksburg, the American Battlefield Trust, has done a very good job, I think, in putting something like that out. And I'll tell you what, the most resourceful I've ever found one of those was Slaughter Pen Farm.
Oh yeah,
I love when they have those little personal quotes, and you can sit there and hear those while you're walking the battlefield. And I mean, it definitely helps bring that story alive more so than just kind of walking and not saying the plaques don't help at all, because those are great narrations to a story, especially if you're following in chronological order. But it helps to hear it too. If you have headphones in or something, just walk around and then it's nice and quiet. Play it.
Yeah,
Sit there. Yeah.
It's our form of being in that Zen moment.
Oh, I agree.
And I don't need yoga or anything like that. I just need to go out on the battlefield or at a historical site in general. It doesn't have to be a battlefield.
Yeah.
And just walk around, and I can have my meditative state and just get back into the grind of it. And that's, that calming nature of that keeps me calm for a month or two. And then I need to recharge my battery and keep going.
That's right. That's the one nice thing about working at the Capitol too, is that you're always in a historic building. So I mean that I just sometimes I'll have these real crappy mornings where I'm just like Monday, for example. Nobody likes Monday. So I gotta go into work, and then I see that dome. I'm like, oh man, I gotta go into work. Like, that's kind of cool. Just walk around and be like, that's John Quincy Adams' couch. That that was, and I'll tell you what, like, I almost just sat on the floor, just not able to stand up, being that shocked. I didn't know that was there when I first started working at the Capitol. My friend found out that I liked history, and he was like, well, you want to see something cool? I was like, sure. And they took me into what they called the Lindy Boggs room. That's the women's reading room. So when Congress is out of session, they used to, again, pre-pandemic, get tours of all these places. So I'd walked in. The couch that was there was the one that John Quincy Adams was laid on after the stroke that he had.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's amazing.
So I was just like, walking in there. I'm like, and that couch is just sitting right there. And,
sitting there.
Wow. Like, you could think about all the first female Congress, like what was it? Shirley Chisholm sat on that couch and would read, and I'm just like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, and there's Abraham Lincoln's desk right there from when he was a congressman, and I'm automatically. Then they point over, and there's Alexander Hamilton, and there's Alexander Stevens, mind you, too. Like, wait a minute, what? There's confusion because you've got Jefferson Davis over here, Alexander Stevens. That's a whole other story. Like, seeing those, they're actually not going to be there anymore. They have been voted out, so they're going to replace them. Each state now has to take those back and elect a new monument to be in replacing of that. No, Virginia's is, I can't remember, who did Virginia choose? It was really cool, too, to hear what Virginia chose. I mean, the Capitol.
Oh, go ahead, buddy.
No, the Capitol wasn't the place for those, I think. And I think that was, something that was proven on the 6th.
Yeah.
It wasn't the place.
And it shows, though, how historical memory changes, right? It's constantly ebbing and flowing. It's constantly changing. It depends on culture. It depends on politics. It depends on, the will of the people outside of politics and stuff like that. And that constantly is evolving almost on a, like every 2 generations or something. You start to see this change in how people see the past and how they see the people of the past. So there's bound to be these movements from time to time where, I mean, historical memory is the reason why some of those monuments were put up. It was because they wanted to send a message. And I wanted to say something. That's historical memory changing. That historical memory might have been in the early days in 1867, 1869, 1870, but it really fomented and grew until those monuments were put in there, so statues were put in there. And so there's bound to be an era in history where some of these are going to be, looked at differently. And just so happens that we're living in that time when many of them are. And it's just a natural thing for human existence in many cases to ponder why our great grandmothers and great grandfathers put this statue up and why they put it in this place and what's the message they were trying to drive home when they were giving their speeches. Uh, but that constantly changes. That's why when someone studies historical memory, they're never out of work. It's a constant thing, it
Yeah.
keeps going.
And it does keep going. I mean, you have so many just vast topics to even choose from. Like, I've always tried to really pride myself on focusing on the Civil War, and then I realized just how I honestly was closed-minded in my honest opinion because I thought that was the only thing I wanted to study. Nothing else was worth it. I've got 3 books on Custer now. I've got 8 books on World War II. Everything just starts to expand. I'll see one. I'm like, wow, that's actually rather interesting. Or just one small tidbit of history will catch my eye in something. It could even be a video game, which is why I think I latched so much to Twitch, is because I found some video games that actually brought me a lot of friends that are very like mind, and they want to play and make these groups, and it's been incredible because you have an outreach of 5 years ago. I didn't know nerds like us existed, man. I'm not even kidding. I didn't know we were there. I was like,
Yeah,
wow, this is sad. I'm the only person I know of that likes Civil War books and not Civil what that
yeah,
never find friend. Got so many that
yeah.
we have. It's beautiful. That in
Dude,
itself,
that's
like,
why I started. That's why I started the brand in the first place. One of the reasons was that I was not getting job opportunities because I had tattoos, and
yeah.
I'm like, well, people with tattoos can be historians as well. And I didn't want my tattoos to be my resume. I
Hmm.
wanted my work to be my resume. And it was kind of like one of those things of like my first tattoo is only God can judge me.
Is that your
And
first?
yeah, that was my
Awesome.
first. I have praying hands and only God can judge me because, I grew up in a household where you didn't get tattoos. And so I
Likewise.
figured, well, only God can judge me for it. So, okay.
Awesome.
And I kind of took that in with me with the history field, right?
Hmm.
Because I was receiving blowback from some people, not everyone, obviously. But some of those in powerful positions did want to hire someone with tattoos below the elbows, uh, even though I offered to wear a long sleeve shirt or whatever. And I'm like, well, maybe there's a thing here where I need to showcase that you could be quote eccentric in the
Hmm.
field and still be a historian,
You
even though I
can.
don't see it as eccentricity at all. I think it's just the way some of us are. We like to have tattoos, we like to have piercings, we like to dress a certain
Yeah.
way, we like to
It's how
talk a
someone
certain way.
expresses themselves. It's perfectly okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
and
free to do that.
yeah, and that's why I also made a page where there was no hate and no judgment
Sort of
as
like,
far as that's concerned, is because I was judged for my tattoos in the field that I tried to get
hmm,
into, and that's nothing like other people have been judged or being judged, and I'm not putting myself at that, you know,
you want to know
level.
a small victory for that? I
What's
walk
that?
around Capitol Hill most days with
Mm-hmm.
my sleeves rolled up like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I've never been. In fact, I kind of tricked them when I started working there. I was like, man, I'm glad they let me roll my sleeves up, but I want to make sure no one ever says anything. So I got "We the People" tattooed across my arm.
Mm-hmm.
So if they kiss, they're like, if he says something about my tattoo, I'm like, what? Do you have a problem with "We the People"?
Yeah.
But it also means something to me because that, like, I dedicated this arm to history. I wanted to have historical tattoos, so I got another Civil War soldier skull there because everybody gets the skull tattoos, and I've always wanted one. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, do they have to have meaning for us? Maybe not. Maybe it's just the picture we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to express a certain thing at that certain time in our life and have something as a memory. Same thing, with different language pieces, whatever it might be.
Right.
But I always thought, when I was ready to talk to you, I wanted to ask you a few questions about your tattoos also, because I'm with you on the tattoo thing. That I find it an awesome art, and I have some plans for my arms here soon too to get some more.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any historical tattoos or anything like that you may have gotten to remember a certain event or a specific historical event that's very important to you?
My tattoos that I have go back to the 1890s.
Really?
So yeah, I have
That's cool.
well, like I have this rope around my wrist
Hmm.
with the harp is all
Okay.
1890s Spanish American War stuff.
Huh.
I have hardtack and coffee tattooed on my leg. Because I got that on the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, and
Did
I
you?
went and I got yeah, I got the one of the plates from inside the book.
So
The
cool.
guy frying hardtack over the fire because I used to
Okay.
make the meals
Hmm.
for us in there. So I thought that was a really cool thing to do. Uh,
That is
but
cool.
my tattoos run the gamut from modern interpretations of a photograph, which I have of my grandfather with his tank,
Hmm.
back to 1880s woodcuts of something. So,
That's
and
awesome.
original 1890s tattoos
Mm.
to 1940s tattoos.
Okay.
And I originally got them because I was a World War II interpreter, and I wanted to have something on my body that was period correct, and that if I wore my tank top or whatever, I still looked the part,
Mm.
and I could look different than a lot of other people out there. And while everyone else was like, wearing tribal tattoos and stuff and showcasing those, I was actually wearing 1930s tattoos.
Wow.
And I just wanted to be, a little bit different. That's that eccentricity coming out. And
Hmm.
it really made my interpretation go easier because sometimes when I would speak with kids, they would, their eyes would gloss over because they're the fourth person I've talked or they've talked to
Hmm.
and and all this. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about something a little different. And I rolled my sleeves up, and we talk about 1930s tattoos, 1940s tattooing, where the guys got them, and costs of doing it and stuff like that. And then I had them back again, and then they're
Mm.
like, okay, this guy's different. And it was a different way of using tattoos as historical interpretation. And so I guess I'm constantly thinking about how can I interpret this historically,
No,
whatever it may be. So,
that's awesome. Clinton, welcome. I see some guys here on Facebook. I want to make sure I check in and say hello to y'all as well. We're seeing you there. And Twitch, we have 3 of you guys here too. Welcome aboard. We're glad you guys are joining with us. We are talking about Twitch history and our brands and pretty much what we do here. Nice thing about us was we just conversate. We're not really on any type of general topic. We're not really just kind of on any type of script. We just have a good conversation and let history go because that
hmm
makes it a little more interesting, I think. Well, that brings me to the next question since we're still on history. Have you ever really told us how you got into history? I don't think I've ever gotten the story from you what got you into history, and I think that would be a cool thing to start with too here.
well,
Just
it's been wow, it's been a 33, no, 32-year journey so
32.
far. Yeah, I
Mm,
was 8 years old. I'm 40 now. I was eight
mm,
years old. My father left when I was 5. I grew up without my dad around much. I saw him every other week for like 4 hours.
mm.
Uh, and so I was needing a father figure,
Right.
really. And it was ironically on a trip that I took with my father for the day. He took me to Gettysburg on the 125th anniversary
No
of the
kidding.
battle, 1988, and
1988?
I was 7 going on 8, and I had no idea what was around. You're a 7-year-old
Of course.
kid, and sometimes you may not understand your local area. And all of a sudden, dad takes me to this place, and he wasn't really into history either. I don't know why he went. I guess he thought there was something big going on that he wanted to see and
Hmm.
whatever. And I don't remember much of the trip. I remember, going down Steinway Avenue in like 1988, and I remember Little Round Top. And there's a photo of me that I guess my dad still has of me on Little Round Top next to one of the 10-pound parrots up there that you know uh, that I stood next to. And I got my picture taken, and I'm barely as tall as the barrel
Yeah.
is. And I think that's where I was like, wow, there's something different here. This doesn't look like my hometown.
Hmm.
And I was immediately kind of intrigued by
Right.
it. And so a young kid who's exposed to that, and I grew up 25 miles from Gettysburg.
Mm. So you
And
were just that close to it.
yeah, I was that
Yeah.
close. And I was like, so I remember asking my grandparents because they really helped raise me a lot. And I'm like, can we go to the place Dad just took me? And it wasn't until I was about 8, about a year later, I was immediately hooked because
Mm.
I found men at that time that I needed to look up to and say, okay, this is how you should act, or this is how you should present yourself. This is how you shouldn't act. This
Mm.
is how you shouldn't present yourself. This is something worth fighting for. This is something not worth fighting for. And I found history as like an escape from a broken home situation. And I would lock myself in my room and I would read
Mm.
books, by the score every year of this kind of thing. And it just got to the point where I was reading so much and being a part of, the conversation even at a young age that it really, to my family, it got out of control, because I was stacking books and I was reading tactics and all this other stuff like a young boy wants to do, who,
Right.
hopes to be a soldier one day, or whatever it may be, like his grandfather. And that's how I got into history. I was immediately taken by that, and I was really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, I would be too. That's absolutely incredible, actually, that you've had that experience. Because I have a very similar one as well. My father was the one that actually gave me my first Civil War book too, and that's really what plunged me into my Civil War history obsession. There, I'm
Hmm.
sorry, my screen got all messed up. I think somebody joined here and messed up the video.
Well, that's all right.
I'm trying to figure out. It's okay, whoever joined.
These things happen.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, there we go. This is Twitch for you, but it's okay. We adapt, and
Really
boom.
overcome.
There we go. Cool, we're
There it
fixed.
is.
All right. So, but yeah, my father gave me a centennial handbook on the Civil War. I
Hmm.
can't remember exactly whose name was on it. That wasn't Eisenhower. Was it? It was either Eisenhower or Kennedy, one of the two that had their name that was in the inscription of that. But when he handed me that, there was a few pictures that I went through, and I was around your age too, probably 6, 7, maybe 8. 8 might be closer to where I was at the time. And there was a picture of the grouping of dead that were from Ewell's Corps at the Harris Farm engagement. I don't know if you're familiar with that on Spotsylvania Courthouse at the 19th of May. There's a small rear guard with the not Second Connecticut, it's the New York Heavy Artillery acting as infantry, and Ewell's
Okay.
Corps goes to try and stem that, but reinforcements are brought up on the Federal side, and they completely push back the Confederates and pretty much stop them from being able to advance any further. And that's really what opens the roads to the North Anna and Cold Harbor and so on as we go farther south. Unfortunately, all that's a neighborhood now. McMansions, believe it or not, of anything. It's huge,
Wow.
yeah. But there are a few little pieces. I think actually maybe just one small tract that the Civil War Trails owns. There's a little marker. There's a few little things to talk
Right.
about the farm, and then there's a monument to the heavy artillery that fought there.
Yes, I've been there.
Okay,
I
cool.
was there once. I was taken there.
One of those
Yeah.
weird, like, you really have to know where it's at type sites. But I
Yeah.
think a very powerful one too, because the Harris Farm no longer stands. Unfortunately, they raised that building a few years ago. It apparently was beyond repair and just wasn't something they could, really salvage. But that story there, the reason I bring that up is because I saw that picture, and that's where that was taken at. It's maybe 5 minutes from where I live now, and being that young, it was kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie at first, to see that, and instantly at 8, my question, instead of just like, wow, what the heck, was how could a human do that to another human?
Mhm.
And then as I go through the book, again, the Petersburg Trench pictures. One of them had a young boy in that, and I was like, oh my god, I'm that old. That could have been me in the war. And so I really just kind of got engaged, and my dad saw that, and I would come home from school and I put on the History Channel and watch that Civil War combat series that was on for a long time on the History Channel.
Right.
And as I was watching that stuff, he would be there behind the scenes calling the History Channel line, because it was those days where you had to order online or order over the phone by calling the TV channel and have VHSs sent to you.
Yep.
I'm like, once a month I had a box set of Civil War Combat or Civil War Journal with Danny Glover show up, and so watching all of those, and then he went out one night when Mom on the anniversary brought me like 2 or 3 Civil War books home. He made her. He's like, hold on, I got to go into the bookstore, and brought. And so since that, I've just been kind of nonstop, and it's all for him, because he really just instilled that, showed me all the family history that we had going on. Find out I have 3 ancestors that fought Confederate artillery, and then I have 2 British sharpshooters, all on my dad's side. So I think he was trying to prepare me just to go through all of this family heritage, or the tree stuff too, to even put the family tree together. He's like, I hope you're interested, because I need somebody to do this meticulous, extremely long process of transcribing thousands of pages. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm ready. Oh man, I've seen some of them, and it's just, woof. But lucky to have them nonetheless. But still, yeah, that was it, I think. And to be able to teach and help keep this story alive is the second reason I think I continue doing this, and not only just Twitch, but in person, like trying to help others as well when it comes to learning. It's an
Right.
important thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think that because of the way I grew up and all that, I wanted a mentor, and I immediately thought that, you know, I should try to be a mentor, and I should try to help out whoever needs help to understand not only the historical narrative, but they have a voice as well, and they can lend their voice to good history. And good history is something that you have to admire as a historian, and sometimes, many times, it makes you uncomfortable. And I am comfortable with being uncomfortable.
My man, I like it. Hey, I found out who popped in. I didn't realize it for a second because he changed his profile picture on me. It's John Ruse. He's the second host of this show. John, hey. I didn't know that was you, man. I was like...
I changed it the other day.
I just...
It was a dull-looking video game controller.
I was wondering what that was. I was like, why are there... There's a battle flag and an American flag in the... Like, what? I was like, oh, it's John. Wow. Welcome, man. Wow,
I like making surprise appearances.
Oh, I am pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect it. I'm really happy. Good for you, man. I'll have to know that you... Yeah, he was. I was like... Because I saw first I saw your video just, like, fly up. Like, either I'm going crazy or your video just went up. And that went that way. Yeah. So, yeah. That's Twitch for you guys.
Yeah, I don't do Twitch. I just got the Discord thing going on. That's way too high-tech for me.
Twitch is way too high-tech?
Oh, yeah. That's why I do history.
I get that a lot when I do these podcasts. A lot of the guys I did the podcast with have never heard of Discord before. Steve Fan didn't even hear. I was like, Steve, I was like, you didn't know Discord either, man. I was like, you have a fan base. You should have had a Discord. I'm sorry to... why'd I just do that? Steve, he does it to everybody. But there is only one.
Yeah.
We're on the topic of history. I mean, Ruse, I think now that you're here, real quick, do you want to tell us what got you in history? What had you start studying?
For me, it's a very simple story. It's just a 10-year-old boy that went with his family to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and no pun or irony intended, but the rest is history. We family friends went. They told my family to go and check it out. And 55th Ohio, I'll always remember, was the first monument I saw. They're right across the street from Tommy's Pizza, right at the corner of Tannytown, I think it is. Tannytown Road and Steinmore Ave. Still remember that as the first monument. And then I think it really hit me when we were talking in the hotel, Quality Inn along Steinmore Avenue. And, so do you guys want to do more stuff here in Gettysburg, or do you want to go to Hershey Park? And me as a young kid was like, let's stay here in Gettysburg. And it was like, wait, what? I don't want to go to roller coasters and games and stuff. I want to go on a boring battlefield. It's like, wait a minute. So it was like something in my mind happened with that. And
it's that eccentricity.
And then that was it. I did see the whole tattoo thing. I do have a history tattoo on me as well.
Oh, you do? Okay. What is it?
So, mine's on my upper left arm. It is a howitzer gun with the battle flags crossed. The years 1861 to 1865 under it. USA, CSA in between the two flags. And then the artist's own little interpretation with like the yellow and red flames in the background.
Awesome.
I had an idea very similar to that for my wrists. I wanted to do the crossed muskets for this signifying of infantry service, and then the crossed artillery tubes with the pyramids of cannonballs at the bottom with the same thing, kind of just a wreath in 61, 65, and 61, 65 across. Nice. But see, I would have to change it a little bit now that I know I have the sharpshooters. I don't have any musket or regular infantry in the family. I've been begging for an infantry, and everybody's like, what do you mean begging? You have the coolest things. You've got artillery and you've got sharpshooters. I'm like, yes, but I have not a single private or anything in the infantry on either side.
Wow. They're
all like, I'm in Parker's battery, or one of them's the ordnance chief with EPA. So I was like, well, he's like, hey, dude, your ancestors in EPA's books like 10 times. That's great, but he's not in the front. He's not. But it's cool to have those. Yeah, I really do enjoy having to try to find a connection to someone that actually served in just the regular ranks. So I'd like to think, yeah, we're just a little bit smart. I mean, but I'm not going to go into the artillery as much. I think where I'm at, and just given, I think, well, I don't know, I'm kind of tall. Maybe I should go artillery. I don't know if I want to stay. I thought I was like, we're rather tall. That's not the place for us to be, is the front line. Yeah, follow the family footsteps there. But I don't know. I've always just wanted to have just that, I guess, that front ranked experience in having something like that in a family to connect to. But it's okay to not have that because I think, like I said, Bird and Sharpshooters just makes up for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Although his story is short and really sad, he gets like, and I'm not trying to be funny, but he gets what I call double malaria. He's in the swamps at Chickahominy, so he's over there at the Gaines's Mill battle, and they're protecting a pontoon bridge, a temporary one that was set up. So they're obviously waist deep in the Chickahominy River, which if you've ever been there, you know darn well it's a swamp.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's really no semblance of a river. It's just a big, boggy swamp. And standing in that for so long, he caught scarlet fever and then malaria and then dysentery.
Wow.
Heals for a few days, sent to Harrison Landing because he contracts all three again. And he stays at Harrison Landing through the duration of the Second Manassas, Antietam, all of that. And by the time the armies come back to Fredericksburg, he is dispatched back to the 1st United States Sharpshooters, only to catch hypothermia, lose his hearing, lose his vocal ability, and started to be able not to see really past his hand. If he would hold his hand 5-6 inches out, he wasn't able to see too much. Gets interesting. He gets dysentery again. So now he has dysentery. Dysentery never leaves him, even after the war. So he says. He says that so much that he actually has a court case, and we have the pension court case files. He goes to D.C. to take it, and the judge pretty much says, dude, you're faking. I saw that your record says that you suddenly got your voice back, your vision, and your hearing back as soon as Gettysburg was over. And statistically, he was transferred right out into the Veteran Reserve Corps in Washington, D.C., marries while he has dysentery, and has kids, and then it turns 1865, and he's suddenly mustered out. So I'm like, all right, maybe the judge wasn't wrong here. I have to look in. I really want to kind of understand this more, but just judging on the things he's saying happen, like double dysentery, what?
Yeah.
Like, man, you've been hit.
It's correct.
Yeah, it was, and it's like I don't want to sit here and of course just speculate that he's faking it, because that does such an injustice. But if we can find some more information, I'm just putting one and one together from what I've got now. It's not something I would rule out yet that he is faking, for sure.
Right.
I mean, because it just the timing, the symptoms he's just saying that he's having, and when they go away and when they start. But also the Civil War is filled with ironies, so it could very well be believable.
You never know.
Oh man, it's like Pelham. John Pelham, man. Have you ever been to Pelham's Corner? The small little cannon site they have?
Yep. Yeah.
I was just there the other day because I when I commute home, my train goes literally, it's actually an interesting train ride. I pull into Fredericksburg at the train station and I actually take it all the way to Spotsy. So I go through the main battlefield, which is the town, and then I drift out to the southern end of the battlefield, go right past the pyramid, go past Prospect Hill and Slaughter Pen Farm. So literally, if you take a VRE train ride, you can tour the entire Fredericksburg in 5 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's the way people used to give tours here. They had that monument out there. I don't know if you knew this or not. That pyramid monument is actually a monument from the railroad, not to General Meade. But they call it the Meade Pyramid because that is like the demarking point of where Meade breaks through that little finger of woods there and is able to push back some Confederates. But that was actually your railroad stop.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy, right? It just shows the trajectory of historical tourism, and how that's changed. We were talking about historical memory changing. Well, historical tourism changes with historical memory.
Indeed, it does.
Once you want to dive deeper into the story, all of a sudden tour routes start sprouting up all over the place, or you want to put new monuments up. Well, now you need to get a road to that monument. And, it's all interconnected once you start to see it in that way. And I think that's a fascinating part of the Civil War story that's often not looked into because by the masses, because we just assume everything was done in 1865 and we moved on when we still haven't moved on.
No.
No.
And
historical memory is constantly changing with this stuff. And you can't say when the last Confederates surrender in the West or anything like that, or when Johnston surrenders in North Carolina,
right,
that's the end of the story. It's not, and it does a disservice, to the men who served that way and served after the war and had to deal with Reconstruction 1.0 and all this other stuff. So
Reconstruction 1.0. That is very appropriate. I actually really like that.
oh yeah, I've said we're going through Reconstruction 3.0 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that perfect conversation, because I picked up Eric Foner's Reconstruction here recently, and that's yeah, I was telling John about that earlier. That was something I've always wanted to understand, because I think that's a very hot button issue, especially right now. I haven't really touched Reconstruction yet, and for being as in depth, knowledgeable of the war as I am. Not crazy, but enough to where I feel like I've got a decent grasp of it. The one thing I haven't gone for was the Reconstruction aspect, because I felt there was so much to know now, and I'm learning now there's approaches to studying the Civil War that you need to take. You can't just hop around, because it's going to be so easy to do that. But then it becomes so easy to get bogged down in so much of the minutia of some of these studies that you're just lost in translation, if you will. But what I've found to help is to kind of follow chronologically and then go back again and start over. So pick a battle from 1861, or pick a socio-political aspect from 61. Read that. Pick one from each year. So that way I'm not just kind of throwing around, because I don't want to really just go piece by piece by piece by piece by piece by piece by piece chronologically, because that seems like it would be so meticulous, monotonous. I wouldn't want to be able to keep up with that, and I don't think anybody in their right mind would. So I've taken that approach, and it has become something of a habit, but I have learned exponentially better by doing that. So I think what I'm trying to say in all of that is, when you're studying history, it can be easier, and that work smarter, not harder, is definitely applicable when it comes to studying history. And I mean, like I said, you just have to find a way that you can really zone out, because once you get to that point where you're narrow and just focused in on this thing, it's indescribable. And I'm sure you know that as well. It's like when you get your pen flowing for the first time and it doesn't stop. It's almost like your arm is just a mechanical robot. You cannot control it at that point. It's awesome. So I think if that is, something someone could use as an approach, it's not the exact thing I would recommend doing, but, it's whatever suits you. Find a process, find a way to tackle the history, because, again, it can be daunting, but it can also be fun if you are able to just take it in doses. I guess that's a good description for it. I don't know, but that's why I haven't touched Reconstruction, is because I have found so many different things while trying to, just get a general understanding. And hell, I started Battle Cry of Freedom for the first time this year. Yeah. I mean, I told you that earlier. I was like, classic. Man, it is. And I stayed away from it for so long.
Yeah. And once you get into the books on the first Reconstruction, as I call it, you start to see the historical memory thing I was talking about. You start to see the groundwork for it. You start to see why certain things are put up in certain locations, and you start to see why people are using certain means for political ends, and you start to see the dirty, gritty ways of humanity when there's no war going on, when it's just you're trying to send a message one way or another. I mean, both sides had both sides of the equation had their way of serving a message. And the United Daughters of Confederacy had their own way of doing it. The Great Army of the Republic had their own way of doing it. And it's just amazing, especially when you talk about the Gettysburg story. What's so fascinating to me about Gettysburg, one, yes, the battle was fascinating to me, but the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten away from tactics. I
really?
have never moved. Yeah, I have never moved a division in my life. But I know what it's like to lose a friend. So I have started to develop this interest in what was it like for them to lose a friend? What was their reaction? How did they bury their best friend? How did they do that? Because one summer I worked in a cemetery. So I helped dig graves. So that's what interests me, because it's a connection, right? It's a thing that I know what it feels like to have to dig a grave. Now, not the way they did it,
of course,
but I have that connection. And it's just an amazing concept to me that I just don't see Civil War history as this tunnel thing where I have to know where this division went on the night of May 2nd. Yeah. That's not it. that's for somebody else, and that's beautiful. That's great.
I know. I
But
understand.
you can be a Civil War historian and not know how to do that or not know something
Absolutely.
like that, because maybe you're a Civil War historian who only talks about burial practices. Maybe you're a Civil War historian who only talks about politics. It's just the era is the Civil War era, or the antebellum period, or the Reconstruction era.
Civil War
We
era
ha-
historians.
yeah, this whole I don't like it when anyone's boxed in. That's my thing. I think you should be able to spread your wings, if you will,
No,
and
absolutely.
be like, okay, I've studied enough of this. I've scratched that itch. I'm gonna study this portion a while. It's also self-awareness, right? You understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you understand what learning process works for you, and you're going to gravitate towards that. And your way of doing it, Ty, or your way of doing it, John, may be totally different than the way I would do it. But as long as it's good history and as long as we're backing it up with fact, it doesn't matter, right? We're getting to the same ends in that way, or we're trying to, at least. We're trying to bring it across in our own way. And I didn't like the fact that my training as a historian uh, boxed me in. And it was
Right.
like, okay, if you're a military historian, you're going to have to know XYZ about, how to form square at Waterloo or something. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm interested in. I want to know what it was like, Ty, for your ancestor to be in that swamp. That's what interests me. I want to know what the common, quote unquote, common soldier, even though there is no such thing as a common soldier, had to go through. And what did they experience? And how did they, why did someone desert? Why did someone stay? Why did this person get drafted? Why did this person volunteer? Why did my ancestor, who, one of them, he served in the 130th Pennsylvania, and his first engagement is Antietam. They hit the sunken road at Antietam.
Not a good place for a baptism.
1 month after being in the military. So U.S. Army says you're in now, August 17th.
Yeah.
Thank you for signing the papers. You're in for 9 months. They basically train these guys how to shoot their musket maybe 3 times at Camp Curtin in Harrisburg. They go September, right after South Mountain. They're late for South Mountain, and they're on the march, and they're hauling, and they're trying to get there. They don't make it, but they get to the mountain, and it's dark, and they're getting ready to bed down for the night. And my ancestor sergeant left this amazing memoir, and in the memoir, it says that they bedded down the night next to a regiment that they saw off the side of the road, and when they woke up, it was the dead from South Mountain. And they're like, "Wow, we've been in the military for less than a month, and this is what we're waking up next to." They're right next to the dead men who are lined up along the road for burial. So they keep going to Antietam. They're issued 80 rounds of ammunition on September 17th. They go into the fight, hit the sunken road, take dozens and dozens of casualties because they popped the ridge right in front of Gordon in the road. And they do their best, but they're green. These guys are green and don't know what exactly to do, what direction to move. Stuff's flying at them the first time in their lives. They don't do so well, according to the divisional commander. So what does the divisional commander do? The divisional commander puts them on burial detail at the sunken road. So this is why I also got in the burial detail, because my ancestor did it. The next battle they go to is Fredericksburg. They hit Marie's Heights at Fredericksburg, and they hit the stone wall, take massive casualties. The colonel shot dead, shot through the head during the fight. And their last engagement is Chancellorsville, and they're digging entrenchments exactly when Stonewall Jackson hits the flank. And they're digging one direction. Jackson's men hits them from the other direction. They have to jump on the other side of the trenches and fire the other way. And then all I could think of was, within the next month, my ancestor does not re-enlist. It's
I don't
because
blame him.
he wasn't even wounded. He wasn't even marked by a mini ball. And I would have been like, yeah, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm not going back. That's enough. So that really interests me, and it happened tens of thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of times.
And
So
that
that's what really
green,
gets me.
that green regiment you were talking about, that one really hit me. I mean, you hear a lot about that these guys are in for like 1 month at a time, or they're in for maybe even 2 weeks
Yeah.
if that. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, they're thrust into a place like Antietam.
Yeah. And that's one soldier's experience from one company, from one regiment, of one brigade, of one division, and multiply that. Don't we can't say that we know everything about the Civil War, or we've read it all, or there's no other books we can write, or there's no other way to interpret it, which is my jam. I'm the one who likes to go out and interpret and likes to teach. That's one way of doing it, and that's one person's story. So when you think of it that way, it really puts it in this massive scale. And then that person is a veteran after the war. How'd they see those men of Jackson's division who probably, that was the thing that he's like, I'm not coming back here because this is the third time that I've been either hitting a sunken position, an entrenched position, or have been caught off guard and surprised. So I think that's fascinating when we look at it from the long-term effects. And as I've said, it's the long-term effects that still impact us to this very day. And, it's crazy to think about all that stuff. And that's why I keep coming back for more.
Oh,
It's
sure.
it's why I did 25 years of reenacting. It was like I wanted to experience being cold. I
Yeah.
wanted to experience being in the mud. Someone had said to me the other day, if you could reenact the Mud March, would you do it? And I said, yeah.
In a heartbeat.
And
They look at it like we're
who's
crazy.
Jaunty, who's in the Twitch chat right now, says that reenactors must be masochists. And it's like, I never thought of us that way, but
I've never, yeah.
we complain about being cold and all that, and then after the event, we're like, that was an amazing event.
Yeah,
I had a lot
we're
of fun.
celebrating it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're celebrating being uncomfortable.
Hey, but I bet you've been doing it for 25 years, so you can probably attest to some better meals than I can. Haven't you had some of the best meals after an event when everybody gets together at the end of the event and they're just like, hey, company meal, and you get plates? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Oh yeah,
I've had
We
some
need
of the
to
best
eat it
turkey, the
thrown
best
out.
ham. Oh, man. And I know we're doing, with the virus, I haven't been able to do that. So that actually brings up a really cool topic that I like to try to portray to people. So there's that game, War of Rights. Could have picked a better name, but there's the game. It's awesome. Are you familiar with the story on how I ended up finding out about the game?
I don't think I am.
I think the NPS 100% from my internship.
Oh, yeah?
I do.
Yeah.
So when I was an intern out at the Wilderness Battlefield, I did the entire Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania National Military Park, but I started with the Wilderness out there, the exhibit shelter, giving tours of the No Turning Back Saunders Field Tour. Well, these guys come up and they have visitor center kepis on them. I was like, okay, we're gonna go. Looks like some enthusiasts. I was excited to see that we had some guys that were shopping around and actually really interested and wanted to wear hats at the battlefield. Because to me, this shows somewhat of an interest. It's something as little as a hat. Even I'm like, all right, there'll be a fun tour. Just gave them the regular. They were very engaging, and they did kind of like what you're doing. They wanted more of a conversation piece. They didn't want me to stand up and spiel. They said, "Can you just talk with us and answer a few questions?" I was like, "Yeah, that would be much better than sitting here on 35 minutes and just da da da." Not that that's a
Right.
bad thing. I like giving tours like that too. But at the end of the tour, after telling them all about Wilderness, they hand me their card and it says CryEngine Games on their card. I was like, "Oh, cool! You guys play video games?" They said, "No, we created a Civil War game." And it's in crowdfunding. It said, but you helped give a tour, so we just wanted to thank you, give us a card so we can get in touch later. And if they ever move to the wilderness scenes and they start doing the wilderness battlefields, they wanted to credit me for it. I was like, well, that's really, really awesome. I went to check it out, and man, that's the reason I bought a computer. When I got back to the quarters, when I was an intern, I looked at the phone, watched that thing on the the YouTube videos that they had of just some of their developed gameplay already. It was
Right.
phenomenal. I was like, holy crap! This is what we do on the field, but virtual. Never have I really seen the importance of that. More so, it's a game. I get it theoretically, but I don't see it as that. Especially with some of the ways some of these people play. I mean, you have legitimate regiments of almost 250 people. You'll go into a game where it's 150 person servers, and those lines and when they're actually fluidly moving, and you've got 100 people in line fighting another 100 line, and you're 60 yards apart in the Dunker Church. That is an experience, and I think if you have a good headset on and you can really put in that immersion, with COVID being in, there are ways to, I think, replicate what it's like to be there, but there will never be anything like actually standing on a reenactment with your men next to you firing it. Nothing beats that.
No,
but
reenacting or gaming is a gateway drug. It's your way to figure out what you're really into.
Absolutely.
And, I hate when people say, "Oh, it's just a game" or whatever like that. That's fine. That means maybe you shouldn't take the game so seriously. However, it does pique people's curiosity.
Yeah,
And it does allow people to be like, "Huh, I wonder what this was actually like at the Battle of Antietam. I wonder what this was actually like at the Battle of Fredericksburg." And the gears start to turn. I mean, the best interactions I had, especially when I did Second World War interp, were from kids who were playing Call of Duty, and they understood weaponry, and they understood stopping power, and they understood gear, and they understood all uniforms. And it was that gateway, right, where I was like, okay, what is one thing from the video game you think is correct, which might not be? And then we would talk about strengths and weaknesses of the gameplay compared to real life scenarios. And that's how you start that process, and that's how you start that building block. And that's why I think with historians on Twitch doing historically based games, you're having a different conversation now. You're talking about things differently. I mean, I just played World of Warships today with a buddy of mine, and Andrew has great background knowledge of the dates that ships were using, were put into service, and all that stuff. And then I'm the popular history guy with that whole thing, and we're talking about favorite nautical movies.
Right.
What's a favorite movie from Navy about or utilizing the Navy, and then that starts a whole other conversation. So using gaming on Twitch, using movies, TV shows, all this stuff, it's the same thing people did when they were watching Bonanza and they got interested in Western stuff.
Yeah, and that's your start.
Same thing. Right. Yeah. It's a generational thing, right? And it's the technology is increased, tenfold in the last 5 years at least. And there's no reason why historical sites, museums, historians in general, there's no reason why they shouldn't have, so many platforms at their disposal, including the one we're on right now, including Twitch, including Facebook, including YouTube. It's free. Why can't we utilize
Absolutely.
this?
I mean, look at these events. And, one thing, I've always wanted to be able to do a podcast or more of a Twitch. Like when I started, my initial idea in doing Twitch was similar to what we're actually pretty much what we are doing now. But I just didn't have the right crowd for it yet. You have to build those things, and that goes along with the brand too. When you start out, there's a lot of times where it's just absolutely discouraging because you're like, I've streamed to myself on Zero Streamers weeks at a time before.
Right.
It's how you start.
Right.
Right. And there are times still where it's just a wrong time stream. It doesn't happen, but I never get mad at it because to me, it's not anything that you can do. It's not that, you can plan all you want. You can randomly do it. And I've always followed a random schedule, so that might be something, that's taught me a little bit. But I become irregular but regular, if that makes any sense. It's just kind of like history on the fly. That's it.
Yeah, that's huge, is that you have something and I have something and other people who are on Twitch who are starting to build, those that are building and get that sub once a week or get 3 followers in a day or a week or whatever. You have patience. It takes patience to build. When I started the Tattooed Historian on Facebook, the first place I went was Facebook.
Yeah.
LinkedIn wasn't, like I say, LinkedIn wasn't the sexiest of places to go at the time. It's not like it is today. And
I don't even have a LinkedIn today. I've never been on there.
LinkedIn is doing amazing right now.
Is it?
The organic reach is through the roof, and I've been telling people for a year to get on LinkedIn because, and I'm not saying you didn't hear me. I'm just saying I've been telling friends of mine around me, get on LinkedIn.
Well, I'll check it out.
There's so much good stuff going on, and organic reach is huge. I've got friends on there and all kinds of stuff that groups and stuff. But when I started the Facebook site for the Tattooed Historian, which was my first platform I put it on, I was surprised no one had taken the name.
Yeah, that's an awesome name.
Wow,
you got a good one.
I got lucky with that. And then I went on every other platform that I could and grabbed it up. But the other thing was I had 20 to 30 followers for the longest time, and they were friends, and that was it. There was no, I don't have family on the internet, thank God, because I don't want to have those those conversations. But I had friends and friends that I reenacted with, or friends who I worked with, or maybe I went to high school with them. So for the longest time, it was 20 or 30 people, but those 20 or 30 people were getting legit content about what I was doing as a historian and an archivist.
Okay.
And once I got tied to like 100 people on there, I didn't look at the number again until one day I looked and I saw I was like at 950, and I'm like, holy crap, we're almost to 1,000 people. And then once I got to 1,000, I didn't look back like and say, oh, I need to get 2,000 or I need to get 2,500, because people get in that trap where they're like, I need 2,500 people to follow me by the end of the week. And it's like, or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Are you gonna lose sleep?
And then what are you gonna do when you
drink an
have
extra
them?
beer? Yeah. Then once you get to the 2,500, then it's like, why
50?
2,600? It's like a bad gambler.
Yeah.
You know,
It's almost like a
like-
drug if you think about it. They're like
Yeah.
they're addicted to these likes. I'm just like, hey, come have a conversation. I don't care if you follow or whatever. Just come talk. That's
Yeah,
what I want to
people-
see. I want to see you here talking. I don't need to
right.
see you over there follow it. Just here engaged. Hey, that's the biggest support you can honestly give us.
Yeah,
Seriously, like your attention.
Right. And I have, 149 followers as of right now on
That's incredible.
Twitch, and in like 6 months or whatever it's
Yeah.
been. But I still stream as if it's 149,000. And people
That's
people take it as I've got 149 people watching me. I don't have to worry about them. I have to worry about getting 10 more. It's like when you make a friend. You don't make a friend and then turn your back on them and be like, well, I got to make another friend.
That's right.
I'm not going to worry with you.
No, everybody. I love
yeah.
these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Absolutely.
to create a reason for people to return, number one. And you also have to give them something of value. And being a part of the conversation and being a part of the community is a thing of value. I mean, I go on other Twitch channels and interact with people. I stay on 5 minutes or 30 minutes, and I see they're not interacting with their chat, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be any place if it wasn't for the people following you on chat, or they don't respond back to people on Facebook. And it's like, it's the easiest thing you can do is
And-
at least
yeah.
like it.
They're
and move
helpful.
on.
Dude, like we had
Yeah.
the issue earlier where my what is it called? The camera audio was still working, and I didn't realize that, so I sounded like a robot, and I had no
Right.
clue. He had no clue, but chat knew. And if I wouldn't, been looking and paying attention to my chat or giving them proper time, I would have
Yep.
never known that this was going on.
Right.
So, see, your chat can ultimately help you too. That's one big thing about it. So, I'm with you there, man. I love to see it. And if I seem like I'm not talking to you guys, I am. I see what you're saying, but we're also engaged in conversation. So, I'm kind of nodding to both. I'm like, see, because I see Jaunty Crow was talking about that she concurs about the organic reach, and I wanted to say something about that. If organic reach is hearing good things from both of you, I think I'm really going to check out LinkedIn. Now, do you have that for your brand? Or do you also have that for your personal page as well? Is there like a personal page you can have and add your brand to that, kind of like the Facebook method, or?
I have just a personal page that says that I'm the owner of the Tattoo Historian LLC.
Sweet. Okay.
But it is a public page.
Gotcha.
So people can like follow along if they want, but to actually connect with me, you have to send a connection
Okay.
thing and all that. But it's a public page, so when you're scrolling through your LinkedIn feed, my stuff could pop up and we're not connected. I wanted that for more outreach, and organic reach just means you don't have to buy an ad to be seen.
Yeah.
It comes up organically, and that has increased like fivefold, for the last year. And I've seen that when I post something about a historical document or an event coming up or something like that, I'm getting a lot more interaction with colleagues in the field who are, they're archivists at museums and with the National Park Service and other entities like never before. And so I'm addicted to LinkedIn right now because I see growth potential. and I go where the attention is. If people are there, if there's an audience, I'll go there and try to interact. It's not a way of pounding your chest. It's a way of growth and trying to see if there's one person that you can help to see that they can do something awesome, for what's awesome for them.
Right.
And to stop worrying about, it's tough, especially when you're online, and especially here on Twitch at times. It's tough when there's trolls out there.
Absolutely.
It's tough when people are trying to bring you down. But you come around to the fact that people who get on my live streams on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitch who are saying negative things have had something negative happen to them. And they're not in a good place. And yes, I will ban people who come out with racist remarks or sexist remarks or whatever else. That's
it's a bannable offense here too.
Thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a one strike and you're gone. However, if someone's on there and they're like, "Oh, you're only streaming to 2 people," or whatever else, that person has been through a difficult time where maybe someone picked on them because they were only streaming to 1 person or to 3 people.
Yeah, whatever it might be.
Misery loves company. Right? And I just choose not to be miserable. And perhaps that person really doesn't want to interact at all, but they had to say that. And you have to be in a really negative place to watch someone's content and leave a comment that's negative. Other than the fact of, like, if you disagree about a topic, that's fine. But when you're just trolling, that you have to take pity upon a person like that or feel sorry for them because they're not in a good place. And I don't meet but I don't meet trolling with negativity. I just sometimes ignore it, or I get it out of my chat because I don't want other people to be trolled by the same troll.
Yep. It's protecting your other viewers, and that's kind of what I can honestly, like, I've been trolled plenty of times. I ignore it. It doesn't really affect me. It's like I just see a pop. I'm like, okay, dude, what are you gonna do? You gonna type me a message? Like, and I don't even say that. I just said that's what you think, and you're just like, whatever, man. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And that you're right. They have a bad day, whatever. They got to voice it. Cool. You had your little 5 seconds to shine on my stream to be saying it. You said it to 3 people. I hope you really feel better because you just showed off in front of the 3 people you were saying up. It's not that big a deal,
right?
But you're right. It could cause an uncomfortable situation for your viewers. Just because I'm comfortable in letting this dude run his mouth and say whatever he wants, doesn't mean Susie Q over here is comfortable with that. So I'm not going to do the justice of keeping that. I'm going to make sure that is completely eliminated because you are here for a safe reason. You are here to talk. We are here, sometimes to be uncomfortable. Yeah, and we talk about history. But I don't want that to be your situation. You're not... Some people here aren't in the history field like we are, and they're not going to be comfortable with some of the stuff we talk about. I even the other day we did the Sand Creek Massacre here because I knew it was going to be a heavy topic. I threw the TVMA thing up on this one. I was like, look, this is a very graphic episode. Not showing you pictures, but even discussing this can be very graphic. And, this is today's climate. There's a lot of things that could, unintentionally offend someone. So you got to make sure you're understanding to not change the story of the histories per se. It's don't dull it down, but at least fair warning. There is some crap in here that might suck.
Right.
But if you're willing to accept it and understand what happened, we can learn from that. So that's what we do. We bring it as fact, no change, no nothing. At least that's how I try to take it. I mean, I would think the full story should be told. It's a complete injustice to try to dull it down or short and sweet it. Concise it and tell it to where you can, make it tolerable and stomachable, sure. Sometimes, like you said, though, earlier, that history is supposed to really make you uncomfortable.
Yes. And there are plenty of times where you're going to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
As a historian. And I think that's part of the beauty of history. I think we should come outside our comfort zone once in a while. And that's how we grow. If you want to stay in the bubble, that's up to you. I think, especially when you realize that you'll never know it all. And there's always going to be someone smarter than you. There's always going to be someone who knows more about a subject than you.
Yep.
And when you can embrace that while also allowing the negative to go in one ear and out the other, but then also allowing the overly positive to go in one ear and out the other. Because one way will tear you down, the other way will make you egotistical.
It will.
And when you get to that point, this is the point I've reached really in my life, through trials and tribulations and other stuff. I've allowed the negativity to slide in one ear, go out the other. It doesn't mean I'm not used to that. Doesn't mean I don't want to take criticism. It's just the negative trolling stuff that I've just let go,
Right.
But I'm also not the guy who's comfortable being patted on the back. I still am like, I'm not second guessing why someone's doing it. It's just I'm very uncomfortable with praise. So I think that's helped me a lot to reach out to people, because they realize when they meet me, I'm not going to have an ego. And I'm always going to say, I don't know what this historical topic is, or I don't understand this, or here's some place you want to go to. That's why, Ty, when you watch many of my live streams, where we're talking about a historical subject, I'm not the only one on there. I'm bringing other people on who know a lot more than I do.
Yep.
And that was the beginning of the Tattoo Historian. From the beginning, was I wanted to help others be seen. I basically wanted to be the Larry King of history. God rest his soul.
I know, dude. I was just asking about him the day he died. I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was like, "Is Larry King still alive?" And then I was like, "No, he died today." I said, "Stop playing with me." And they should pull over their phone. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So
hell with 2021.
That was my thing. Like I had 3 people in my head when I started the Tattoo Historian brand. I never wanted to be like anyone else. I always wanted to be me. I want you to be Ty. I want me to be me, and you do it your way. However, you can have inspirations, or people are like, "Wow, that guy's a really cool guy," or "That person's a great woman, and I think I want to emulate something that she does." But it was always like Larry King for the interview stuff, Ken Burns for the documentary history stuff. Like, I could document things. And
Absolutely.
I have friends who could help me document stuff, whatever it may be. And then I had the attitude of Anthony Bourdain.
I forgot you're a Bourdain fan too. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I mixed the 3 because that's who I am. I love to talk with people. I'm a conversationalist. I love to research. And I also love great food and culture. And I love tattoos. So it's like mixing the 3 together in a mixing bowl. And this is what the Tattoo Historian brand was supposed to be from the start. And that's when people ask me, what is it supposed to emulate? And I would always say those 3 people. And, it's I am the same person on this camera as I am on the street.
Likewise,
and
man. That's the cool thing.
When you get to that authentic moment, dude, it's all easy from there, because you don't have to put on an act. It's who you are.
Right, and that's, like I said, that's why I love this thing at Twitch, because that's what I was afraid of, is like when I'm playing these games, or if I was gonna have to build a community, I was afraid I'd have to put on like a persona, I guess you could say it. Not once since I've started streaming, even the day I've started, have I ever had to do that. No. I've always been able to come on here as myself and not really be afraid of what people are gonna think, because I felt it was a way to express. And then as I'm learning that this is a platform, and some of the people that are following are of the like mind, like, this is a chance to reach out and build audiences and build friendships and try to build a community of history related folks that want to talk about these things. And can you imagine one day if we had like a symposium or something, man, with all these people? Oh, that would be so cool. That would be so great. That'd be great.
I have plans for the Tattoo Historian conference.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So
because that's what I'm starting to get into now, more so than like a bunch of weird trap. I think conferences are cool.
Well,
notice that. Cool. I like the boring ones where you just sit there and listen to someone talk. Dude, that's my thrill. Like,
everyone that's going to come out on stage is going to have walkout music, like you're stepping up in the batter's box. I mean, come on. This is going to be legit, dude. There's not going to be any.
That's great.
It's going to be fun.
That's great. See, that would be awesome.
Now I got to get some stuff published just so I can get some theme music.
There you go. Announce it with style.
I mean, honestly, I think it'd be great to have a whole hall where we do like a TED Talk kind of format, and then a separate hall is for the historical gamers.
That'd be cool.
And the live streamers and stuff like that. And we're all working together and collaborating, and we're learning about each other's needs and the place we want to take it and stuff like that. That's a generic version of my vision.
Well, I think you're onto something big, man. I think what we've been able to do here, Because do you know, or do we have a lot of historical streamers like in a community? Talk a little about that. Like, I know you and I are here and we feature prominently, but who else is with us on our team? Like, do we have groups we can support, and vice versa? Do we have this kind of, or is it very small right now?
It's a small community right now here on Twitch, at least. There's plenty on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. There's plenty of them, and they do.
Right.
Many of them do greater work than I do.
Oh, sure, same.
But on Twitch, it's still a very niche route right now. However, there are other historians, especially younger historians, who are starting to make a mark, and they're starting to at least have a channel and dip their toes into this this mud that we've put ourselves in, because once you're in, you're
Absolutely
stuck, and you're stuck in a good way, where you're like, well, I need to have more of this, I need to get deeper, and I need to understand all this stuff. But I mean, there's me, there's you, my good friend Bowery McHistory started his own Twitch channel. He just started. My friends at Civil War Breakfast Club now have a channel, but they haven't started it yet. As far as
I listen to them on, I think I have a couple of them on Facebook, and I've got them on Spotify.
Oh, great! Yeah, I talked them into having a Twitch. I'm like, get over here. So I'm going to teach them about Streamlabs and all that stuff.
Cool.
I know that maybe by the end of 2021, Jaunty Crow and the Twitch channel and your chat may have something going on.
That would be awesome,
because she's artistic and loves and is now getting into history. And
great combination.
She might have something there. We've discussed that, but there's no pressure, obviously, because you can't do it under pressure. You have to do it when it's right for you. But I think that's the point, though, with the whole thing, is that some people aren't ready yet, and they don't see what all you can actually do, or they're not ready to jump in front of a camera. Some people just don't like to be on camera, and some people don't like the sound of their voice.
Sure.
I hated the sound of my voice when I started podcasting.
It takes a while to get used to it, doesn't like your voice when you start hearing it back. Like, I still don't like hearing it played back.
Yeah.
So it's like, I said it like that? Oh, God. Ugh.
Yeah. And then people are like, oh, you should read audiobooks. And I'm like, have you heard my voice?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you hear me. I don't.
Yeah. So I have to take the word of the people listening.
Right.
It's your comfort level. It's self-awareness. But if people can be good historians on Facebook or on YouTube and do those live stream videos and do those videos that aren't live, you can make a go of it on Twitch. There's no reason why you can't. And there's going to be people like us who are going to help, prop you up.
Absolutely.
And as long as you're doing good history, we're going to help prop you up. And as long as you have a place, at least for my aspect of it, I know yours as well, Ty, as long as you're not, sowing any division or anything like that, and hate or anything,
that's right,
I'm going to be propping you up, and I'm going to be helping you. So it's kind of like we're probably the first dozen, and that's probably being conservative.
Yeah, really.
I'd say it's less. It's probably half a dozen historians who are really, really invested in the Twitch platform right now. So we're kind of breaking new ground in that way. You broke it 2.5 years ago. I broke it a half a year ago, where I'm like, all right, I gotta jump.
I think it's great that we have us here now too, man. One thing I wanted to suggest to you too, even a while ago, is there are talks, man, I've wanted to do, but we have this group, and if we can get a solidified group, like you said, that follow that specific, like, we're not hate speech and we're not causing division. We're not here to publish false history either. I think there wouldn't be anything wrong in trying to get a team assembled, like a support team of like a list. You could go on like we'd have a page, we have a group here, and we'd say these are the streamers that stream in this group. All that, some people play World of Warships. These guys will be playing War of Rights. These guys are playing Verdun. These guys are playing Beyond the Wire, whatever it might be. I've seen that a lot with like people that play in like, like Phase, but nothing that would make you like belong to anything. You don't have like any type of commitments, but it's cool because you'd have a group of supporters. You'd have a supporter. You would have, likes and follows from this person. Oh, I'm not going to be able to stream today, but check out John. He's going live. Tattooed Historians live. Or Ty's not going to be able to live today, so I'm pass it over to him now. It's great.
Yeah, I that was the reason why I started Discord, and that's why when you go to my Discord, there's so many rooms for different games. I was hoping that over time, people would start to make it a networking opportunity, and it's been slow over there. But I think
Mine's
if
slow too. It still.
yeah, I think if we created something on a different platform other than Discord, where there's a community platform, whether it's a Facebook group or something like that, because everyone's still on Facebook.
Yeah, I see that.
That'd be a great way to do it, where it's like, here's a schedule for historians today on Twitch. This
Yeah.
is who's going to be up, or this is who's going to be on this week, or this is your whoever you follow. This is their schedule this week, and just copy from Twitch and paste it on a Facebook post in a group. Something like that might work. Maybe not even a group, maybe just a page. That way people don't have to join the group. They could join the page, but only certain people have posting rights.
Right, like if you're a member
that'd
of
be
the
really good.
group, whatever, if like you're an actual streamer or one of the the TV hosts, I guess you call them the hosts of the group. But yeah, that's even a great idea because I see these things work a lot, and if you get that community, that helps. Because do you have merch yet?
I have some. I
Do you have some?
merch? My sponsor TR Historical has my merch right now.
Awesome,
I'm also going to be probably making up some new shirts this year.
cool.
I'll probably be selling them myself, simply because some of them might be a little bit too edgy for TR.
Okay.
Because they run a tight ship, and I totally respect that. And I've sold shirts away from TR before,
Okay.
so it's not a bad thing. But trhistorical.com is my sponsor, but they carry my buttons, magnets, stickers, little things like that. We're talking about doing coffee mugs.
Oh, that'd be
because
cool.
I do my buzzed coffee with the tattooed historian event.
Yeah, I know. I love those.
Like every 2 weeks, I do one of those. In fact, I'm due this week, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time. So stuff like that, but shirts and stuff like that, I'm gonna come out with throughout the year. One year, I did one for Women's History Month,
Ooh.
which was a good seller, and we did like women's cuts of shirts, and did Women's History Month, and there's some other ideas that I have. I have a First World War shirt in mind. I have a Second World War shirt in mind.
That's awesome.
But I'll probably and I have designers who help me out, who are good friends of mine, and are always they can't support it financially, but they support it through art, which is a form of financial support.
Absolutely.
Because that takes time, and time is money. And I always give back to them, and it's just a great way to help out, because when you're tattooed and you have a brand that's got tattoo in the name, you have to admire art, and you
Absolutely.
have to because it's on you, number one, and number two, I have ideas for a tattooed historian art exhibition in the future.
That would be nice.
So it's going to be an art exhibition which raises money for battlefield preservation.
I can't draw anything, but I'll submit something just so it goes to that good preservation, man. Yeah,
I'll submit a picture of yours.
that's right. That's what I draw best.
Yeah, that's what I draw best too, and even that's kind of out of form. But yeah, stuff like that is very important to me, and increasing brand awareness is huge. I've seen my shirts on the Western Front, which was just amazing. The
That's
guy was
cool.
touring around wearing one of my shirts. I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And that's when you really start to see the impact you could have, just by logging on and saying something in a way that someone maybe never thought of it that way, or just saying hello to someone in the chat could make their day. They may have been on the edge of something terrible, and just acknowledging their presence is huge. And you can see why with me it's more than just history.
Yeah.
It's about being there for other people and telling them that you can do this, that you can work at whatever you want to work at, as long as you're not hurting anybody. You can, as long as it's legal, you can make it work, and you can do it. I'm tired of people being hemmed into a box and being shut down.
It's creative prison, really. I mean, when you're not
Yeah.
able to kind of just break out of that box that you're saying, that's a really painful and hard thing to break from. I was in that for a very long time, and specifically with this is what's been so liberating is being on Twitch and being able to speak and finally do. I was so nervous, man. I was very scared to even talk history because I was afraid of the judgment if I got one thing wrong. But I was realizing I wasn't necessarily trying to box myself in like that because I wasn't getting. I was double checking. I was using that and going at my research with that mindset. Like, I really don't want to get anything wrong because, again, that is a cardinal sin in history. Not to get it wrong, but to blatantly get it wrong, I guess, or change it. That's a cardinal sin. And I was just scared of maybe how I would be looked if I gave information that's old or not relevant or whatever. But what I also look at is just because there's an older historian that looks down on you for putting out information that's not new, who's to say that the generation before me has never even heard of that before? And it's something now that they're really interested in. Because I'm writing from a younger aspect, someone that's, I wouldn't say in tune more with the youth, because, I mean, I studied history for a reason, kind of like John said earlier. I'm not in tune with the modern day. I am so, like, ready to study history. I'm like, wait, I got to get to contemporary another time. I need to study this first. But, it's something I think that that's why I like this stuff, is because it's different, and it's not the traditional approach to teaching history. Because I know so many people who just do not succeed or thrive in a setting where someone's giving them a lecture for an hour and a half like we're doing. There's no thrival, there's no retention of anything that they talked about. But I guarantee you, maybe, and this is just me speaking from what I hope is the case, that the folks that listen to this have learned something more than what they may have learned in a history class at high school. Because there's more of a, I think, incentive and just an entertainment aspect to it. But it's also more genuine. We're not reading from your textbooks. I'm not even taking my books or my notes and talking that this is all just what we know. That's what I think would teach a lot of people. If we take instead of more of an interpretation, let's put fact on the table and let's discuss it with everybody instead of just, here's what I think happened. Why do you think this happened? Why is that? Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's accessibility. You're accessible.
Right.
Some people don't want to ask the teacher or professor a question because they're going to feel like they're being dumb.
No, there's no
but
dumb
when
questions
they can ask their friends or someone who they perceive as a friend online, it's much easier. Or they can get in the chat and ask a question, and they're not doing it face to face. It's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
Where people are going to be more interested in that way. Some people are, especially introverts. You're not going to get a lot of questions from introverts face to face. I remember I was one.
Right.
And I would rather write you an email, or I'd rather get in the chat and figure it out. So it's accessibility, and everyone who follows you or follows me or whoever it may be knows what they're going to get, and they understand that you are not doing the cardinal sin, which is faking it till you make it.
Right.
I cannot stand that. That is the one thing that I despise. That some of the earliest hate mail I received were from people who were trying to fake it till they made it, and you could tell. I got hate mail from a guy one time who told me, he said, "You're ruining history because you're trying to make it cool."
So you're ruining it?
I'm ruining it because I'm trying to make it cool.
Gosh darn it, John.
Like, well, that was the first time I was called cool, so that's awesome. And then he told me why he felt this way, and he didn't realize it that he was saying it, but you'll get it. He said to me, I always wanted to be a battlefield guide at Gettysburg, but I could never break into it. Like, I could never get through it, which that's thousands of people, hundreds of people have done that. And he said to me, he goes, I started a video series where I thought I would be a little bit different than everybody else. And he said, so I went out and I dressed like Alice Cooper and did battlefield interpretation. And when he said I dressed like Alice Cooper, it told me you don't dress like Alice Cooper every day. You're dressing up. You're putting a costume on.
You're not yourself.
He's like, I put a bandana around my head and I did this and that. You wouldn't tell me that if you did that every day. And that's when I realized his problem isn't the history. His problem is he's not being his authentic self.
Right.
And that's where you're faking it until you make it, and that's a recipe for disaster, and it never works.
And
never.
A big thing honestly was, and this is something that I like to address openly because not many people are open about it, and I think that's okay. I do, and I know maybe sometimes people come here for history and not so much this, but I'm very mental health aware here. Very. And someone who struggled very severely earlier on in the year, this is one of the things that actually brought me to the place that I am in now, and I am in such honestly, in my life, I've never been in this good of a place before. This far, yeah, it's amazing to see that, and a lot of that is attributed to being able to find an outlet or a platform, like Twitch, and the folks that have been able to be around, like John specifically, like especially you. You've been very supportive through this, and I can't thank you enough. And the chat,
no problem.
both of you guys, like everybody that has been around here and been able to participate in this, is just there's a lot bigger than just the Twitch stream itself. It affects day-to-day life and changes the quality of life for a lot of people. And, you know, I wake up in the morning now not as... There's still some sad moments. Of course, it's mental health. It's not going to just snap away, and it's something you struggle with, but you're able to learn to adapt. You're able to learn to give things up that maybe you would have never thought of giving up before. And you're able to then place those with books, which, you know, pocketbook speaking, it might be along the same lines of damage, but longevity-wise, I think that's better for the long run. 100%. But at the end of the day, yeah, it has brought me to a point now where I am beyond comfortable being able to come on here and talk with folks, and I really look forward to it because I wake up my day and I'm like, you know, I want to talk about this with my friends today. I want to talk about this with John today. I think John would be a great person to ask a few questions about, and I would love to hear what he has to say. And I like doing it in the presence of people in chat too, so we can all just have a massive discussion about it and let's talk. There needs to be more of that discourse throughout the entire country, I think.
Yeah.
Because, the problems that get solved if we did that. And you know what? I was not one of these people up until I started picking this up again. So it did. The introvert comp, you know, that's something that it took me out of. Yeah, I was very outgoing. I've always been kind of social. Truthfully, though, I had a lot of self-love issues. I just wasn't caring about myself too much. And this has taught me to be able to love myself because I'm proud of what I've been able to overcome and see it and just how the Twitch has played out. Like, it's been a home for me. And yeah, I think this is something great. And I think being able to serve and be able to help and be public service oriented. Yes, this has helped me. Yes, this is great and this is fun. But at the end of the day, this is not for me. This is to share what I have learned and what I do. All these books and stuff, that's for me. This is what I want to spend my time. But I also want to spend my time teaching to you. And so, like, people learning and people being engaged and an audience growing and then sharing this with other people. And that story continuing down the line of whoever it may get to, that's what this is all about at the end of the day. And you having a place to come as well and just be yourself and chat. Not have to worry about somebody calling you names or being mean or harassing you. None of that happens here. Just a bunch of good group history guys that we just want to talk and chill and hang out. Drink some water, some sodas, and all that fun stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Mr. Mrelkoolio's logo is going to change because I got him before I decided to stay away from the booze. But all it's going to do is get an orange soda replaced.
There you go. Put
That's
a Fanta in there.
Oh, it's got to be a crush. It's got to be a crush.
Oh, the crush. All right. Well, whatever.
Fanta's good. Fanta's good when it's like optional. If I have options, it's crush. But Fanta's all right. As long as it's not that sun kiss. That it has such.
Don't do that.
No, it's got like infections. Ugh, God no.
It'll give you dysentery. The thing that, and I think it's wonderful what you said, Ty, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you,
for
man.
what you've accomplished and what you continue to accomplish on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
Because it's very important. You know, I was where you are at now 7.5 years ago, and you know, I needed to stop what I was doing to myself. And some of us get to that point. Some of us never get to that point. Some of us never have the problem.
Right.
And I think that's great. I love when I see friends who can have one beer and that's it. And I'm like, wow.
How did you do that? Yeah.
But I don't have that.
It ain't one. I feel you. That's the problem.
Yeah. So I get that. And I understand that. I will say that through me putting myself out there and being an open book and just taking the armor off and being like, this is who I am. This is what I've been through. This is why this project is so important to me. I have received so many private messages and emails from people who are like, I needed to hear that because I was in a bad place, or I'm the only person in my friend group who's like that. And I felt alone. And I never thought that, I thought I was just going to come on here and talk about history or whatever platform it may be. And I was going to talk about history. I was going to do some historical gaming. I was going to do some live streams. I never thought that I would put myself out there like that, but you get to a point where it's partially 10% of it is for you to finally let that out and say, this is who I am. If you do it right, 10% is for you. 90% is for someone else to be like, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. Or that gives me hope to maybe be able to do that one day.
Yeah, hearing your 7 years, man, I think I was telling you that when you first told me that's what did it. I was just like, God, I can only imagine. It's nice now too. I mean, because I don't have to imagine. I know what it's like now for at least a month. I like that. Yeah. That's still drastic, and I haven't been like this since 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yes, I know that feeling.
It's a long time, man.
Yeah.
So reading
I was going through anxiety with that stuff, man. And I was drinking beer and taking Xanax at the same time.
Yeah, it was Adderall and beer for me too, man. I understand.
Yeah. So I was destroying myself. And I was thinking that's the only way I'm going to feel good. It's the only way I'm going to get my rush.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something clicked. And it was like, you can do better. You can be better.
You absolutely can.
You're not weak, but you can be better. And when you get that through, man, where it's like, don't see it as a weakness, see it as a stepping stone. It's not a stumbling block. It's a stepping stone.
It is.
And that's when it gets real.
The proof, I think, that I could actually have the self-control to just say no to this shit. Like, and excuse my French, but that's what I call it, because I hated it so much. And I do now. I hate it more than anything because I saw how bad it was and what it was doing to me. Because when I would drink, I wasn't me. Because, you know, you're right. One beer, drink in moderation. Yeah, I've never been at that bar before, so I don't know what moderation is. Right. Unfortunately, I was just all the time. And that prevented me from also reaching my potential as a historian and being able to give to the community. So I'm not only robbing myself of a good mind, but I'm robbing the community of something I could have the potential to teach and maybe break one day for someone. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm this great, wonderful, godly historian. I'm just saying as someone who does try to contribute and, bring things to light like that, doing that wasn't going to help. And it was causing pain in the other aspects of my life too. And I didn't want that, man. And it put me to a place where I'm not willing to say restart, but I'm relearning how to do things start things that I may have not done before. Maybe learn to process things or take different approaches to feelings that I may have, so on and so forth. And it's been a journey, and it's not just been a month journey. There's just been certain aspects of this journey that's taken a month, like the no drinking. I mean, this has been I'd say a 3-month, and it's been racking failures, and great, huge, wonderful victories at the same time. But I like to, and what's helping me through this is the same thing. The cell phone was not made on the first try. It probably wasn't made on the third try. They probably sold 3 or 4 prototypes real well, and then the last one just crapped out and there was nothing left, so they had to go back and do it again. Right. That's how any journey is going to be, and that's how life is going to be in general. But again, one of the things that I think I found was something like Twitch or reading or journaling actually has been one of the coolest things too, is starting that. And it's all about the style of journal you have is what really made it for me. I can't go and get a composition book from Walmart and just write in that. That doesn't feel good. I went and paid a good $1 for a leather bound, real nice, kind of a personalized journal. It's got a little rope around it so you can tie it shut. And there's something at the end of the day, there's this new routine that I've set for myself where at the end of the day, I want to write down all of my thoughts. And I've done this since the day of the Capitol riot. So I have from January 6th, 2021 all the way up to now, every single day an entry, and a lot of that, if I work that day, I document walking through the National Guard. I'm documenting what I'm seeing, because that's history one day, man. That journal, as much as it's helping me, I would just throw it to someone that's like, yo, make sure this gets to a place where someone will write about it later that may want to do a research project on the riot and just want someone's opinion. I'm not a big, huge thing, but that will be pulled. Because I'm telling you right now, if I was a historian and it's someone, just regular citizen or a worker there, had that experience and saw that, I'd want that entire thing photocopied twice. Yeah. And I'd be using it because that's who we look for as historians too, kind of like you said earlier, that common, you know, I was upset about having the private. That's what we all relate to. I can't relate to Stonewall Jackson. That man, they had power, they had money, they had positions that we don't have. You know, you can equate these to your members of Congress. Those are the people that should be looking to people like Lee and Longstreet and studying what they do, because those are the positions that these people are leaving to serve in the Army. I'm not one of them. I'm a regular citizen. I'm going to serve for, you know, New York, or I'm going for Virginia, or I'm going Maryland or Kentucky, whatever it might be. You're thinking your small local area, not anything different than that. And I think there's a different motive to going to war as a private to a commander.
Right.
I think there's political influence involved when it comes to being a commander. There's powerful positions. There's room for pay. As a private, you really got to have some type of, or not a private, I was just saying an infantryman, you really have to have that duty orientation. And then last thing I want to close on, I want to get your opinion on something, because I think, you know, as a historian too, this might really give you some type of, I don't know, let me describe it. So the Capitol has stopped giving tours since COVID broke out in March. Have you ever been to the Capitol? I don't know if you've ever been on a tour of it or not, but you'll see the guys walking around wearing the red vests, which I always find it funny there are red coats inside the U.S. Capitol. Like, I was like, did you guys think that one through when you gave the historians red coats? Like, really? Little raw, but all right. They unfortunately all had to take hiatus during this entire thing. Well, I try to find some type of silver lining in every situation that I can, because Lord knows we need that. And I found this situation of the National Guard in the Capitol to have a little bit of a silver lining. Tours are back in business. Those tour guides are back working. Very socially distanced tours, but I'm also like, oh my gosh, let's see how an inside social distance tour looks like. So to me, I'm not only awestruck that the National Guard, being stationed there, have asked these to come in, and a lot of our guards are interested about where they're staying. And what? So now we're having guardsmen write about their stays there. With a little bit of knowledge now, because these people are... So that's one thing that went off my head. I'm like, oh, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. And you know that these people now are kind of getting a respect for where they're at, and they're interested. There is that interest, but there's a job coming back because of an unfortunate situation that's been so bad. Look at these historians that have to flock in, and now, I mean, and there's a lot of them too. I think that's why they flock in, because there are so many coming in to help with these National Guard troops that really just, hey, we're here. Can you give us a tour? Can you show us what's going on? And I think that's important.
Yeah.
And that whole building, I mean, once I can really sit down and process, I think, what happened fully, because I wish I was able to do that now, but it's going to be a process, no pun intended, to be able to really sit down and write about and talk about everything. And I'm able to start coming out in pieces, but that was something, unfortunately, that was kind of traumatizing, and it was a derailment to some of my recovering. I didn't drink, though, somehow. I didn't cave at all.
Good.
But, one thing I don't really talk about, how severe of watching something like that happen. And then it's scary walking through. It's like walking through a crime scene the next day.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm sure you saw, I've got pictures of the tear gas residue on the floors, windows broken, graffiti, stained floors. It's just, there's not really, I've always say, I just have a lot of trouble formulating words for it right now. And it's something who knows, later in life I might even need to talk to somebody about. But you don't forget those things at all. But I did, like I said, I felt that, as a country and being there and working there, it's a very painful thing to see no matter what. It's your place of employment, but it's also the Capitol building. It's the building I'm the most passionate about in the world. It's my favorite architectural piece we have. collected so many resources on it and studied it since I've been up there. I mean, it's just fallen in love with that thing, and to see it treated like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all of ours. It's not just one side or the other. That is an entire country. It's a human piece. That's mine. That's yours. That's John's. That's everybody watching in chat that lives here. What's our building? That's our history. And I think as historians, we have a duty to really try to make sense out of everything that's happening right now by continuing to stay with the past and not letting that die. Tell the stories. You know, make sure these things are told left and right. Let's keep going to these Twitch streams. Let's get so many people involved in here and have them ask the engaging questions. We want these hard-hitting questions, by the way. We don't stray away from those. You know, I'm not sure about you, but I love it when people bring me some real engaging, like, those hard questions that a lot of people are afraid to answer, because that's what I think historians have to also brave themselves for, is because you're going to get a lot of really tough questions.
Right.
And having to provide some of those answers that may not be comfortable. Again, touching on what you said, you're going to find those moments where not only you're uncomfortable with the person you're telling the answer to the question to, they're probably going to be quite uncomfortable too. But that is a good start. You should be. Some of the stuff in history is awful. If it makes you uncomfortable, you have a soul. Honestly, if some of this stuff does, like, I watched Good Lord Bird and started reading stuff about John Brown, and my stomach was sick on both accounts. I'm just like, oh God, history is nasty. But as you should, because now you can really understand how. I mean, again, the word formulation is tough there because it's just so important. I think real happy that we have this opportunity, and just, I guess that's what I'm trying to sum up here. With all the craziness, it's I'm glad we can talk about that, and I'm glad it can be shared, and it's not just going to go away. You know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ty. And I remember I wasn't even in front of a TV when it was all going down. I heard about it. A notification came up on my phone that was occurring, and I immediately thought of you.
Yeah. Because
you're the only guy I know who works up there. And I'm like, okay, I got to just make sure everything's good.
Glad you checked.
And then I checked in on my girlfriend because she lives in Rockville. And I'm like, are you okay? How far is this stuff going? What's going on? Because I was not in front of a TV. I had no idea what was going on. I felt weird. Like I didn't live in the 21st century because I wasn't in front of a TV to see what the hell was going on. I was in front of a TV on 9/11. I saw it all, but I wasn't in front of a TV on that day for the longest time. And I thought of you, I thought of her, and I'm like, okay, who else do I know in the area? I checked on Steve, and but he wasn't. I don't think he was in the area at the time. And you know, so you check on those around you first, which is what you do in a traumatic situation.
Absolutely.
Which leads me to the point that through our life experiences, no matter who we are, we all come to the point where we have to talk to somebody, or we have to face that uncomfortable question that we have to ask ourselves. You know, do I want to continue doing this to myself? How do I want to overcome this thought? How do I calculate what I just went through a year ago or 6 months ago? This is the next phase of the crisis that we are living through with COVID and with what you personally and what the nation and the world experienced on January 6th.
Right.
This is the next phase, and that phase is the mental health phase. And we have to keep checking on each other consistently. And I tell people this a lot, where introverts are having a great time right now, but extroverts are not. And this is the point where this is why people are coming to Twitch now. This is why people are going to Facebook live streams now. This is a connection to each other. So when people are dismissive of Twitch or dismissive of Facebook or dismissive of whatever it may be, it kind of strikes me as odd, because you know, those same people would be at the bar on Friday night and they want that connection, and yet they don't know how to overcome this period. They're going to be faced with some questions of their own, and I think that a lot of times they're lying to themselves. They know they need it. They know they need the conversation like we're having now, or whatever it may be, a Facebook Live event or a Twitch event or whatever it may be. These are now new outlets for us.
Right.
And I would not, you know me, I speak for the truth of my own
Yeah,
truth.
no, absolutely.
I would not want to see this country if we did not have the platforms that we have right now. Because how are we going to communicate with each other? How are we going to break down these barriers? How are we going to exist with each other when we want to send a letter in the mail? It might get there in 5 days. Who knows? It might not even arrive.
Message you in 5 seconds, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So without this little device that we're never more than 5 feet away from, without the webcams, the microphones, and all this stuff, this equipment that we base many of us, our existence off of getting this message out there.
Right.
I would hate to see where we would be right now. So as much as we put down the negative aspect of social media or Twitch or whatever it may be, let's start concentrating on the positive aspect of it. Because for people like me, for people like you, Ty, perhaps like you, John, as well, other people who are in the chat, on whatever platform it is, perhaps this is the one chance you have to talk to someone all day long, or to interact with people you love or you know, or you have been friends for years and you can't hang out like you used to do it. Whatever you seek, you shall find. If you go seeking the negative, you will find the negative. If you go seeking the positive, you will find the positive. And I found that online. And like I said earlier with trolls go seeking the negative. Guess what? They find the negative.
They do. They get the band hammer.
Yeah. You seek the positive. Yeah. You seek the positive and go looking for it. You will find it. And this is all we have right now because of certain things going on in our own lives. I can't do my Gary Owen nights like I did.
I can't wait
until I can. And it better be a packed house.
Yeah.
The first
I'm only
do it after
2 hours.
We're
so
COVID safe. I want it to be.
How often did you do those?
Once a month.
I'd go. I mean, do you have an audience when you do those normally?
Oh yeah, we had a live audience. Sometimes we had 45 people there. Sometimes we had 20. Sometimes we had 15. Sometimes we had 45. It was whatever.
Oh man, I get some Appalachian root beer and come out and watch.
We had a live audience and we live streamed it. Just do like me and drink water or club soda and orange juice. That was my way of doing it.
Do you like
an alcoholic drink? No one looked at me funny.
The Appalachian Brewing Company has sodas that is.
Oh yeah, but now I'm 4 weeks soda free. So now I'm on water and orange juice and milk.
Whew, you're a brave man.
Iced tea.
Wait,
tea.
Are you coffee
Sweet
free?
Tea. No, don't.
Okay, I was about to say, please don't do that.
No. Do you want like the bloody lane to be
No.
real again?
No.
I mean, you don't want that.
No. God.
But seriously though,
Yeah.
this is what the conversation that we have had with you tonight, Ty. Not only about social media, but about just being real and honest and authentic. That's the conversation we need to be having with each other. That's the conversation we need to be having with ourselves. What's the legacy that you're going to leave behind? And
Absolutely.
God knows, with COVID still running amok, even though we are thankfully getting inoculations around, with it still running amok, we can't take anything for granted anymore. My stepfather's father succumbed to it, and it's close to home with me. And I've had friends who caught it, and I think I had it, but I can't prove that because I was down for almost 7 weeks.
Do you think you had it before 2020 though?
No, I think I had it. I think if it was what it was, I got it in March, and I was sick until almost May.
See, I had it back I've always said it was here sooner because you really can't.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just track that straight up. But I was real sick in November, from like November, December, and even into January. But with every symptom, I couldn't taste anything. I was like
Oh,
chest pain. Yeah, it was bad. And then March that
wow.
year, they break COVID, and I'm like, well, okay, sounds like what I had already. But and I test
Yeah.
every single Monday that I go back to work, man. So I've taken like 30 something tests this year so far, or 2020 and up to now.
Yeah.
Not once.
Is your nose sore?
Very. I took one this morning. I'm actually waiting. It's getting
Oh,
close. I should be about an hour out from my response. But
wow.
I'm just waiting. If
Wow.
one day it's gonna say positive, I'm just like, oh man, ruined my whole streak. I had 32 tests, like just negative, negative, negative,
Uh,
negative. And I'm hoping it could stay that way, man. I really don't want to ever go through that. And working up there, I'll tell you what, they do some pretty darn good precautions to make us feel
mhm,
like we're safe when it comes to the COVID. Like I
mhm,
don't really have a. I mean, I fear it. You can get anywhere, obviously, but the
mhm.
precautions that they use, it looks like they are still going above and beyond in order to try and protect or give us a safe space inside. Especially given what we just
Mhm. Yeah.
militaristic up there for sure. Like, as safe as it is, it's unsettling.
Right.
Something about walking
Right.
into a mob of armed guards is just with razor wire all around too. You feel like you're walking into the DMZ.
Yeah. It doesn't look
Yeah,
like America.
no. And that's what
It
they're
doesn't.
saying. There is, and I was talking about this on Elliot in the Morning radio station just a couple of days ago. We were talking about the wall. They want to build a wall around the Capitol now, a permanent
Wow.
one, and it looks like it's actually going to happen.
Wow.
So now they're going to have to go do these multitude of studies. The National Park Service is getting involved to do, their lidar mapping and their GPR to see what they can find and possibly save. And I was telling
Mhm,
Elliot, I was like, this ruins the historical integrity of the entire National Mall.
mhm,
I was like, I
mhm.
stand out that speaker's balcony and I look down the mall and I can see Jefferson Memorial all the way in the back up to the Washington and to the Lincoln Memorial. You can go see
Yeah.
that. That's gonna be gone.
Mhm.
That's heartbreaking because that is such a beautiful view.
Yeah.
You see the DC. I mean, and again, that's not a political view you see there. That is just the United States, and that's all the marches that went through that mall. I have not
Mhm,
gotten a chance to look at the mall on a full or bird's eye view since what happened, and I don't know that I want to just right now
mhm,
because the ones I've seen before that were visions of Dr. Martin King marching his people down that wall
mhm,
and then all the way to the Capitol. The Vietnam War marches all the way to the Capitol, throwing their badges
mhm,
and their medals back across the wall. There
mhm,
was a razor wire wall there too, wasn't there?
mhm.
When they threw that, now that you think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
it's just those images
Mhm.
kind of fade when that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. Takes on a new meaning, right?
Yeah, and for example, I have a daughter coming this year. She's not gonna see the same Capitol I saw. She's not ever gonna see the same Washington I saw.
Right.
That's normal, I'm sure, but still, for a minute, that's powerful. You're just like, wow. Like,
Mm.
she's not gonna know what the west lawn of the Capitol looks like. It's gonna be barricaded. Maybe it'll look ornate and really nice, but let's be real. We don't have Montgomery C. Mays anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have
That's
Walter
right.
anymore, or Buck Walter, whatever his name was. Shoe Walter? What's his name? Thomas Walter? He's the architect of the Capitol at one point.
Mm.
Well, we are reaching our 2 hour point. 2 hours and 3 minutes, man. This is
We
awesome.
are.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out any last minute questions from John here because John has not really had anything to say too much. I want to see if he can get a few pieces in before we fade out of here. John?
No, I've just enjoyed listening. I'm not the techie guy. I'm not the gamer, so I'm just thinking of ways that I can contribute to this type of stuff. I've been thinking a lot about where I want to go with my YouTube channel when I eventually get that up and rolling. I have like one video on there from a test run back at the anniversary of the Battle of Fredericksburg. Just did a test run to check the audio and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much everything that was said. I'm open to moving forward with this. History, I believe, is meant to be challenged. New arguments need to be had. It cannot stay stale. And just having different platforms in order to talk, discuss, argue, but not argue. Like, I hate you, you're wrong. I mean, just, different arguments and seeing other perspectives. You know, going into becoming a teacher, you have to come up with these class rules and expectations. And one of mine is about respecting others' opinions. You know, of course, again, just like what was said earlier about, if we're going to go racist and stuff like that, that's a whole different level. But I mean, someone's opinion on a certain period does not make them wrong. It's their look at it. And as long as they have, support of it, and it's not just kind of like conjecture, but, it's just, and I do believe that the future of education for younger generations is going to be these platforms because it's what they know. So to be able to reach off of things like Twitch, which I don't know a lot about, Discord, YouTube I know about, and all these different Facebook I know about. And these may be the ways to do it, branch out, create, again, discuss, argue, and just teach. And hopefully, just inspire others to kind of follow in the footsteps that hopefully we are starting to make. Because history is evolving. History is a living organism. It does not stay static. And I just think that this is a very important thing. I think it's more important after hearing you two talk tonight to really understand like where this can go and what the possibilities are. So I'm excited. And I'm excited for theme music too.
I think that theme music is killer. I'm excited for that. Yeah, that's awesome. Mr. Heckman, do you have anything else for us? Good, sir.
Oh, I want to thank you for having me on again.
Of course, man.
For this evening's festivities. I think it's very important that we all see ourselves, if we study history, as historians in our own ways. And I think it's very important for us to, as John said, to to be respectful of each other and our ideas of the past, as long as they can be backed up with good quality history, is something that is very important. You don't want propaganda. You want the historical narrative to be taught. And I think it's a moment of reflection for us as a society, as a world, at this time, due to the things we're going through. And we're living through a very historical moment. And the way that Ty, you said you're keeping a journal and in your own way, and you're thinking about what you've gone through, and the time will come when you wish to talk about it, and no one should force you. These are things that we are going through as a collective, in our own way, through our own struggles. Whatever your strength is, as a historian or as a person, I want you to be able to think about that in new and amazing ways, because everyone's voice matters in the end.
Right.
And I really think that the way you showcase your talent, whatever that is very important. And embrace that niche that you have. I follow a guy on Twitter who all he does is talk about Muppet history. This cat has over 100,000 followers.
I bet he does.
And he's not even affiliated with Jim Henson Productions.
No.
Okay. So you could talk about literally anything. And especially now, because we're hungry. We want to see something different, and we yearn for a new voice.
We do.
And some of your listeners, one of your listeners, could be that new voice. And I really think that when you start to think of yourself as being part of this fabric of whatever field you work in, you really start to understand that without you, that fabric unravels. And no matter how good you think you are, you're still part of the conversation. And I think it's very important for you to follow people like Ty, possibly follow people like myself. That's totally up to you.
Please follow him. You better go follow.
I'm not going to pressure anybody. But understanding there are good people out there who aren't only historians or students of history. Because if you're a historian, you're a student of history for the rest of your life. You're never not a student.
Yeah, it doesn't go away.
But we're also people. And we're also I don't go around wearing a three-piece tweed suit during the day. I'm not this, the look of the historian. This is who I am. This is who Ty is.
So you got it. That's it.
Right. I want you to understand that you have a welcoming home where you can hang out and not be judged. Whether you're on Ty's page, my page, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just know that you have a place to come to and a community to come to, where you're going to hear history. You can be a part of that conversation as well. You can start your own brand. You can start your own Twitch channel, whatever it may be. If you're better with podcasting, do that. There's always an outlet for you, and it's never been a better time to be alive as far as these media sources are concerned.
Absolutely.
And it's time that you can also consider adding your voice to the narrative, just like we've done.
I think you said some gold words there, man. That golden voice.
I'll preach if you need me.
Oh man, I could preach all day with this stuff, but I think we gotta close it down because I want to try to do a chapter of this new Fredericksburg book, which I want to plug really quickly because we talked about it the other day, and it's here and we're reading. I'm gonna find out how this goes, but I think this is gonna be possibly, I shouldn't say it's gonna be my favorite book, but just judging by the setup, it's written differently than your traditional book, and John, you might fall for this type of stuff. It's gonna follow 5 people into the Battle of Fredericksburg. It's going to follow John Pelham. You see Walt Whitman. Can't remember. It looks like that's his name's on the front. It's a very important person. I'm going to feel really upset that I have to look at the front page to find out his name. Watch this. Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Oh.
Forgot about him. So we got,
Mass.
Pelham, Whitman, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Louisa May Alcott, and then there's another... Hold on. Who's the other guy?
So is each chapter a different person?
The whole book follows a multi-piece. Oh, Clara Barton, too. Clara Barton, excuse me.
Nice.
Clara Barton doesn't do a lot of the stuff she says she does in Fredericksburg. And I thank Don Fawns for teaching me that. He's got a little book on Clara Barton that just came out about a year and a half ago. That's really, really, really good. So if you get a chance. But yeah, Frank O'Reilly wrote the intro to this book, which I did not expect, and that's what made me actually ask him, hey, is this something, because Frank was my mentor when I was at the park, and I asked him, hey, what do you think of this book? I've seen it on Amazon. He said I would 100% absolutely get it.
Wow.
Didn't have to worry about that.
Awesome.
Early access there. But the guy that wrote it is a Pulitzer Prize winner, so I'm hoping maybe we take some of that, but it looks really promising because they shatter the idea of studying the tactical side, and they go into what it meant for these 5 and what it meant for the country afterwards.
Nice.
How how Civil War Battle of Fredericksburg changed the nation. It's called A Worst Place in Hell by John Madison. That is out in stores on the 9th of February, so only a couple more days. You order it now on Amazon Prime. It gets sent to your door on the 9th. Change the reading list really quickly before we run. I know we run, but since it is Black History Month, I wanted to take a break from the main pile that I normally have. And I wanted to expand my knowledge on a subject or a person I actually virtually know nothing about. And Frederick Douglass caught my eye today. I heard a lot of good things. I've actually just finished reading a John Brown book and watching The Good Lord Bird. And, I stayed away from Harper's Ferry for a while because I just didn't want to bog down in the multitude of history that runs through Harper's Ferry. But I think that was an injustice. Battle Cry of Freedom introduced me to the Harper's Ferry raid. I went further into it, started seeing the characters, and this is one that stuck with me and wanted to come out and study later on, seeing as how he was an early meter of John Brown. So, between those two this month, I think, and then I have Eric Foner's Reconstruction on the back burner. Nice. Other than that, that's the February list. Gentlemen, anything else?
No, thank you so much.
All right. No, thank you so much for joining us, John. And we will have this video up relatively. I think as soon as I press end, it goes onto both platforms to watch past view. And Spotify will be up tomorrow. Awesome. All right. Stream, thank you guys so much. It has been a wonderful